it's a pleasure to be here with you.
It
and
is.
I want to thank you for agreeing to be a UNFPA champion. And I have a few questions for you, and I understand you have a few questions for me too.
Yes, that is the case. No, thank you. Thank you. It's such an honor to finally be a part of the UNFPA family, and especially meeting our ED in person. While I'm just newly appointed, I think not everyone has such blessing.
Well, for me, it's really a blessing to be in Bali, and I understand that you're Balinese, right?
Exactly. So it's funny how the world works. I get to welcome the ED right around my home. So I'm glad you get to visit Bali, and I hope that I'll get to see you more often here.
Well, thank you. It's my first visit. I've been
Not your
very
last?
impressed. No, definitely not my last. And knowing Indonesia, I've never been on Bali. So I think the peace of the island is really, really beautiful. And coming from Panama myself, having the sound of the ocean is so comforting.
Aww.
Yeah, yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of where you're from,
It
is
really
it?
does. It really does. Now, I found out something today I want to ask you about, because we call you Ayu, but you're actually Putu.
I am Putu Ayu Saraswati, so that's my full name. So Putu is actually very Balinese. I don't know if you know, but my name, Putu, you're asking me what Putu,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Putu represents the firstborn. So each one of us has our own name in Balinese. So firstborn would be Putu, secondborn would be Made, third would be Nyoman, and fourth would be Ketut. And then it'll go back to Putu.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it stops at 4. So I think that's like Balinese natural country,
Yes,
like family planning.
Yeah.
So 4 was maximum at that time. Otherwise, you have 2 Putu in the family. We don't want that.
And are you the first then?
I am the first.
And what's that like?
Being a firstborn?
Yeah.
I think being a firstborn from, actually not just from my small family, I have 2 little sisters, but
Nice.
even actually from my mom's side and my dad's side, I am the eldest out of all the cousins.
Oh,
So I
wow.
never knew what it's like to have an elder sibling, even an elder cousin. So it's always been, me as the eldest, someone that everyone's kind of look up to. And I think that gives me a bit of boost and a bit of responsibility, I guess. When I make my decisions, I know that I'm making it for myself, but also I know I have younger siblings that might look up to me.
That's so interesting, because as I look at young people of your generation, there is a kind of shared sense of responsibility for the planet, for the climate issues, for each other, which is a wonderful thing. Well, I'm always happy to be in Indonesia. It's legendary, the hospitality. Bali, the cultural dimension. I came precisely to discuss with the midwives of the world the urgency of paying attention to death during pregnancy and childbirth. And it's their biggest meeting here ever. It's a very spirited discussion, because on many levels, the midwife is the person that accompanies, especially the rural woman, the poorer societies, and also in a way it's a discussion about how the health team can respect each member. Midwives, in the most part, tend to be women. They tend to be very well organized, and they're also very devoted to their profession. But like so much else in the world, they're not always fairly compensated.
Right.
There are gender issues in terms of the hierarchy of midwifery and their relationship to the doctor profession, which I know you and I share that interest as well. So the point is that for many, many years, the United Nations, the world as a whole, every country has said that we will prevent deaths during pregnancy, childbirth, in the aftermath. And now I really want to make sure that we push very hard to fix the issue that every 2 minutes there's a woman who's dying during pregnancy, childbirth. And it's something that it's within our power to change. And midwives are a big part of that. For UNFPA also, we made the bold statement that we would work towards 0 preventable maternal deaths. And what I see everywhere I go, and Indonesia is no different, it's really the teenage mother, the adolescent girl. She really hasn't planned to get pregnant. I wouldn't use the term accident because I believe that young people should have their reproductive rights expressed. So things like child marriage, things like coercing young girls into too early sexual activity, and also a lot of the taboos. It's difficult for young people to approach an older person and explain what's going on. These are some of the dilemmas that UNFPA faces every day, including in Indonesia, where government really wants to bring down the death rate during pregnancy and childbirth. It's too high according to the standards that we've cooperated with them on. So that's why I think we're excited for your championship, because as young people feel that there's someone they can relate to, someone who is a listener to what they're thinking, this is going to be very helpful, I believe.
Fingers crossed. I think that is exactly why I feel I'm here for. And I hear you, the urgency of having maternal death in Indonesia, the country that I've been born and raised in, and knowing that one person, one woman, a soul dies every hour here. I think it's maybe for some people, now that we're discussing it out loud, it doesn't sound like a thing, but if we think about it, it's 1 hour, 1 death per hour. That's as much time I spend watching my favorite TV series, an episode of that, and one soul is lost. And I think what's more sad is the fact that it's preventable. Right? And there's so much that we all can do together to stop that from happening. And hopefully, being a part of UNFPA, I will have a broader platform to be able to communicate these issues that people are too scared to talk about, and people don't know who to tell. So
exactly. I like what the team of UNFPA in Indonesia has been doing. And a lot of that is looking for partners in new arenas. Our very strong partnership with BKKBN has been a big plus. And they won the Population Award, which member states choose just one group out of so many thousands and thousands around the world. They won last year. So we were very proud of that relationship with them. But I also think the outreach that we've done in the past may have to change. We have to look for new ways of doing things. So through your championship, I think that's one thing that the team wants to very much work with you on, in terms of, just like you said, communicating and allowing people to have the kinds of discussions that really can be life-changing. I also think that when it comes to tradition and culture, it's a very caring society. People are expected to look after each other. And this is a big advantage that you have in Bali and in Indonesia.
I think I definitely understand when you say we have such a caring culture here in Indonesia that sometimes my business becomes your business too. We care, but sometimes to a point that it becomes too much. I think that's something that I also I think it's very important to discuss in a community where the line is very thin between caring and making decision for other people.
True. Yeah.
And I think that exists in many countries and communities and culture, not just in Indonesia, but I can say that at least where I'm from, it still happens, and these are the things that are limiting us from limiting especially women and young women, children from being able to be informed to begin with, and then make decisions that are good from them based on these informations.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think hopefully if we collaborate further with community as a whole in understanding that there is such right as bodily autonomy, that it's important to have that, hopefully we can see changes in the future.
I like the way you phrase it, because the idea of having rights and being able to make choices is very important for human happiness. And that should not be taken away from women, from adolescent girls. I also think that the country is a model for many different types of traditions and cultures coexisting together. I was told, for example, there's so many local languages in Indonesia, although you share Bahasa together. And there's a lot of beauty in that diversity. It was expressed even when we were with the Midwives Association. UNFPA has been affiliated with the midwives here for almost more than 15 years, I think. And each midwife came with her traditional outfit, and you know, they're just beautiful, but different types of expression. Now, there are certain things that are universal, and one of them should be respect for women. The ability for young people to be able to walk into any clinic, any health post, any doctor's office, and be taken seriously,
of course,
and be listened to. And I think this is a challenge for the older generations sometimes, that UNFPA has to build those bridges and help make these experiences much more youth-friendly, because it can be off-putting, you know, and young people will be shy to really speak if they're not treated, you know, with full respect. I have also been speaking very clearly everywhere that I go about the issues that relate to gender-based violence, prevalent in every country in the world. And my expectation that especially young men will socialize each other differently. Sports guys defend the girl rather than, you know, picking on the girl and bullying. And I think this is something which we can do a lot in Indonesia, to engage with boys, with men, and to make sure that they are counted on the side of full respect and equal dignity for women.
Amen. I think that is a vision of the kind of world and the kind of country that we share, we want to see for Indonesia. And I think the struggle that, you know, that I see when I get to travel throughout Indonesia, sometimes I see the more rural areas, and I think it's important to also discuss with you, is the fact that women and children, especially women and young women, they are not completely aware of what's going on. So I feel like the lack of information to begin with, knowing that, oh, I actually have a right to make decisions for myself when I want to get married, if I want to get married, if and when I want to pursue education, have children. These are things that are actually going to affect the rest of their lives, but they're not aware that these are decisions that they have to take for themselves. And I think that is the main issue, because we can't really expect people to fight for their rights if they don't know that they have that right to begin with. And I wonder if that is a pattern that you observe in other countries that you visited, and how was it from your experience that it's best what is the best solution to these kind of issues in terms of awareness?
A very timely issue, and for UNFPA in our youth program, we actually title it My Body, My Life, My World, because earlier you spoke about bodily autonomy. We've tried to simplify the term to body right, and that hashtag body right is really important because the United Nations very early on, right now it's the 75th year of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And it includes principles about people being in control of their lives. It speaks of equality of men and women. It also talks about the larger freedom that people should have, including as in the case of UNFPA, the freedom to choose the number and the spacing of their children. For discussions about rights, you can have the law, you can have the charter, you can have so many other things. But what's important to most people is their family and their community and their job and their experience in a local context. So what we've learned is that it's very, very important to work with local communities, with the organizations like the NGOs that are trying very hard to, in the local language, and not just in terms of the language, but the expressions, have young people be part of that table of discussion and treat them fairly and equally, not as somebody who is just there to learn, but someone who's also there to share.
Of course, to be heard.
To be heard.
Yeah.
And to interpret what do they see as some of the solutions. So I think when we invite young people, it's very important to also prepare them and equip them so that they're confident when they're able to speak. You know, you're shy if you're not if you're not well prepared. So I think that's one of the things that we're trying to do with our peer education programs, but also with the intergenerational solidarity. You've probably understood that Indonesia, like the rest of the world, has made a lot of progress with aging. So now the proportion of older people is going to increase every year. This is great. I mean, it means that you know, we've improved life quality.
Yes.
So that people have the privilege of becoming a grandparent. But now we also have to think about how family dynamics change and having younger people and older people
living
working together. Exactly, yeah.
Together.
So what I find in the UN context, working with the youth envoy, who has been very skillful. I think in her hands now, our Secretary General decided we're going to have a youth office in United Nations for the very first time. Yes.
Actually.
So, yeah, and it's overdue because young people, you know, are a quarter of the world.
Of course.
And I think, like I said earlier, very altruistic, very idealistic, and also very practical. So I think that's going to be a benefit. For young people to utilize their full creativity to figure out some of these very difficult problems is actually a lot easier. Working in concert, trying to function in a way where we actually get the benefit of innovation, which we've, you know, a lot of these issues we've never faced before. No one knows the answer, and I think it's appropriate for the newer generations to help figure these things out.
Thank you for, I think it's refreshing to hear that such body as the United Nations is officially and properly giving the youth a platform, and not just for us in the way that you were to put it, to be there to learn, but to actually have our voices heard, be able to propose solutions, because growing up and being in my position, I always hear so many people saying, you have to equip yourself as youth, you have to be prepared because you are the future. But I think in this case, it's no longer relevant because the situations and the problems that we're facing exist in the present. And
Absolutely.
I think youth should have a voice to talk and to propose solutions now and not wait until future, whatever that future is.
Totally agree.
What is it that they do?
Well, let me say it's a pleasure for UNFPA to have you as our most recent champion. And I really look forward to what you'll do, not just in Indonesia, but to inspire young people all around the world.
Amen.
To look at the issues of bodily autonomy, to think about gender equality in new ways, and also to speak up and be advocates for what they really believe in.
Amen. Thank you, Doctor. It's been such a pleasure,
Thank
and I
you,
really look
equally.
forward to see you maybe back in Bali, or
Absolutely,
I'll get to
I'll be
visit you in
back.
New York.
Definitely. Thank you so
you.
much. Thanks a lot.